I have written from what now, I have written from what now might be branded the edge for as long as I've written. Now, corporate culture and media have blurred that edge. They seize the first whiffs of original thinking and commodify them. What was once ferocious is today's new brand. Taboo no longer has meaning. With one exception, getting old. You will find little written about that which you, as you sit listening, are engaged in. 10 years from now, 20, 40, 50, you will find yourself occupying a body which has not been able to resist the great alchemist time. Unless, of course, you meet first the other great alchemist, death. I've resisted writing about getting old because it seemed any words about it were a cliche. The old guy nattering on and on about the glorious days of being somebody. The old woman who just can't stop talking. The fucking awful labeling of vital old people as feisty. And just today I read that Desert Trip, a gathering of the top 60s musicians, Neil, Mick, McCartney, has been labeled by the ebullient hipster youth media, Old Cella. Fuck that. Now I write about aging. Here is a short essay for the Virginia Piper House blog, and Cashmere, one of my short stories in The Talker, my new collection coming out in March 2017 from Torrey House Press. Raw diamonds, writing from fear. I write from place. I let the green light of a storm coming in, the fat globe of the rising moon, the skeletal trees after a forest fire give me stories, and I write from fear. I've lived in that place since I was 5. Now I let my fear of growing helpless as I age and of my own death move out in tiny increments onto the page. I am not alone. And this is a quote. The jeweled net of Indra is metaphor from the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, which portrays how all beings are interconnected across time and space. The image describes how at all intersecting nodes there is a diamond-like jewel that represents all sentient beings, human and other, that exist in the universe. Each jewel reflects every other jewel in the vast net. Whenever suffering occurs anywhere in the great luminous net, a tear appears. In times of trouble, people respond, and their compassionate response helps the net to reweave around the places of suffering. That's from Get Your Dying Done Early, an article in Inquiring Mind by Olivia Hoblitzel. Olivia Hoblitzel's husband, Hob, had intended to give a talk on Indra's web at the Cambridge Insight and Meditation Center. He'd trained in Buddhist meditation, was a lay monk in the Tiep order, and had taught for 15 years. Neither his fine mind, deep practice, nor devotion helped him the night of the Indra talk. He had readied his talk for months, unlike his usual, more spontaneous preparations. He began to talk, and stopped, and stopped, and stopped again. Age and Alzheimer's had torn the exquisite weave of his neurons and synapses. Silence fell. Hobbes' audience was made up of Buddhist practitioners. They would have understood how possibility lies in the void. And then Hobbes told them what was happening inside his head. No theory, no canon, no text or chants. Hobbes taught from the deepest knowledge. He spoke from the immutable truth of the moment. I imagine him saying, I too have not been spared the first 3 of the 4 heavenly messengers, old age, sickness, and death. I am blessed to remember the 4th, the monk sitting with what was left of his breath. Buddha met all four as I will. Forgive me. I don't know what to say next. And I imagine the silence that followed was the quiet of the slow gathering of unbearable knowledge that must be born. Now may be the time, and perhaps there is no time at all, for those of us who will grow old, are grown old, or are grown old, to meet old age. We will not truly encounter that messenger in theory, canon, text, or chant. We will not bump into our difficult friend in the mall. We walk, breathe, sleep every day with our persistent companion. I dedicate this piece to my writer friend M, who lay in the presence of her possible death and turned the hospital ceiling tile above to a diamond into which she gathered all she loved and whispered, "I love you." I offer these words to any of you who know that as diamonds are carbon brought through heat and pressure, you are a raw diamond, being changed with every breath into the old person you will become. Got a little more? So this is the beginning of, we good? Great. This story is Kashmir. It's based on a true experience that I had. First, my dad died. Then Mom found out he'd borrowed from the life insurance right down to the dust on the last nickel. Then she said, "Jen, I hope you'll get a part-time job. Otherwise, I don't know how we'll make it." I'm 16, so there's not a whole lot of jobs out there, especially in Yucca Valley, where lots of people sleep in their cars. But my best friend Liana's mom works as an aide at Hope Care, a local nursing home. She talked with the head nurse. They said they needed somebody 3 to 7 to help out with meals and visit the residents. And could I start right away? Almost the next thing I knew, I was being given a blue and white striped Hope Helper's apron, handed a vase of silk flowers and a card, and told to head down the hall to room 130 to get it ready for the next resident. And I want to just have you meet Red Billy. Okay. So she goes into the room, or she heads into the room, and she hears, "Incoming," a wheezy voice said. I looked up and saw a little old guy with a long gray braid being wheeled into the room. He had on a faded black leather vest with patches on it. He wore a silver hoop in his right ear and a string of turquoise beads around his neck. "Hey, little sister," he said, "where'd you get those flowers? Are they for me?" "Isn't that nice, Mr. Guidry," the aide said. "You've got a welcoming committee." The guy snorted. The aide parked the wheelchair next to me. "I'll just leave you two alone so you can get to know each other," she said. Set a duffel bag on the bed, fluffed up the pillows, and left. The old guy shook his head. "Ah, geez," he said, "what a bummer." "Not you, Missy. Just what the hell am I supposed to do now?" He picked up the card and gave him a fake card. "My new home? I like the old one just fine." "That vest is so cool," I said, because I couldn't think of what else to say. The guy looked down. "I earned every one of them patches," he said. "I was a real biker, not one of those fucking yuppies you see riding around on fancy-ass, Harleys. I rode with the Half Moon Hellers. You ever heard of them?" "Nope," I said, "but my dad was going to get a bike." I heard myself and wanted to take back the words. The guy shook his head. "Going to and got are two different things. You tell him that. He buys himself a bike, he'll wonder why he waited so long." "Okay," I said. No way was I going to spill my guts to a grouch. "Excuse me," he said. "I forgot my manners." He reached out his hand. He had a big old skull ring on his thumb and a silver snake around his little finger. "Let me introduce myself," he said. "I'm Red Billy Guidry." So Kashmir is in my new short story collection. It's coming out March 2017. It's called The Talker. And I know that Jesse's going to be thrilled to hear that if he and James get in touch with me, I'd like nothing better to launch that book from this place in 2017. So you guys give me a call, and I will definitely come and do that. Thank you very much.